Okay, so good evening, everyone, and welcome to our monthly session. This month, it's Healing Hearts, Navigating Life After Loss. Before we get into our session, I'd just like us to share a brief housekeeping guidance. One day, the technical skills will become perfect. So, just, so please keep your mic muted unless invited to share. Write your questions and comments in the chat. Please take notes for your future reference. Always be respectful and kind to others when they share in the chat. And please do listen and engage with an open heart and mind that is willing to learn. So many of you would have been here before within our session. I'm Steve Sankar, a certified transformational life coach. I support people every day with growth transformation, and achieving their personal goals. You know, humans, we can grow and change no matter how old we get. It's just a gift, part of the gift that we actually are. We are all full of incredibly wonderful and invaluable qualities and specialities, each of us. And sometimes we need help to bring that out. Sometimes it's just natural. We are who we are. And the experience of ourself, of our specialities, of our qualities determines the kind of life that we live. And I want to let you know that living a life full of stress, anxiety, and depression is is not the way it's meant to be. It's a common way that many people live, but it is not what life is meant to be. We all dream, we all have goals, we have objectives, and it's possible for us to go after them and achieve them. So don't ever think that we just have to struggle and survive every day. That is not the gift of life. All right. As we go through our session tonight, you know, it's me sharing thoughts and ideas that I would like to share with you. It may be different from what you would have learned before, but I believe that these perspectives can help everyone navigate life after loss. Well, thank you for anyone who has come here experiencing grief at this time after having lost someone. It does take courage to show up in a space like this, to hear about these things while you might be feeling raw inside. And I want to acknowledge you for showing up. You're really showing up for yourself. As we go through this evening's session, we'll be looking at grief, we'll be looking at signs and symptoms, and we'll be looking at strategies for healing and for living life with grief. Before we get into that, I'd like us just to take a moment to settle in and be present. I invite you to follow with me as I guide you through a simple breathing exercise. So just allow your body to become still. Place your feet flat on the ground, your hands on your lap. Just observe your breath as it enters your body and as it leaves. Focus your mind on the breathing. Observe the air enter your nostrils as it leaves either through the nostrils or the mouth. Become still and focused on the breathing. You are safe in this moment. You are loved. You have a right to be here, a right to enjoy life, a right to be happy and successful. Back to focus on the session. When we think of death, birth and death go together. One hand and the other hand, put them together. When we think of a baby holding a newborn, we must know that one day this child will die. Each of us. It's just the flip side of life. There's birth and there is death. We celebrate birth and we fear death, but the two go together. When we think of day and night, at the end of the day, there is darkness, there is night. On the other side of the darkness, there is day. And we want to open our minds to accept that death is just a part of life. You know, it's a commonly occurring and overwhelming life experience that can be difficult to get accustomed to. And especially when there is lingering grief and pain from previous loss. But I want you to believe that with awareness, intention, and determination, death is something that we can all develop resilience to coping with. So there is hope. And when we think of resilience, it is simply our ability to deal with and bounce back from challenging life experiences. So it doesn't mean that when we have these challenging life experiences that we could feel overwhelmed. We can, we will. It's natural, right? But our ability to bounce back from it. You know, there are common misconceptions about grief, grief that accompanies the loss. There are people who believe that grief follows a set timeline, that time heals all wounds, or that you should be over it in weeks or in months, that there's a time frame. The reality is that grief is unique to each person and it doesn't have an expiration date. There are those who think that it's necessary to be strong and hide your emotions, that we have to suppress those tears and pain and show strength. You know, true healing comes from allowing yourself to feel and to express your emotions. Some people think that moving on after death means forgetting your loved one. Healing doesn't erase love or memories. We can honor and carry our loved one with us while continuing to live fully. People think that grief can only show up as sadness, so that grief only means sorrow. But grief can also bring anger, guilt, confusion, relief, numbness, or even moments of laughter. And sometimes all in the same day. It's like a roller coaster. Some people also think that if we keep busy, the grief will go away. So we fill our time with things and people and distractions. But these distractions may help temporarily for a period of time. But the unprocessed grief often surfaces later. It requires space to process the loss that we've experienced. We have to give it that regard. You know, grief is a personal journey and it unfolds over time and through different stages. And it manifests different for every one of us. And, you know, grief is a natural emotional response to dealing with the loss of someone or something. Something, not only the death of someone, but something. We can experience grief if there's a divorce, a job loss, illness. Older people can grieve the loss of their youth. So grief is just a part of life. You know, and I remember many years ago reading that grief is the price we pay for love. You know, I understand the intention, but that's up for debate. But we really grieve for the ones that we love most. It hits differently, you know? I like to say that there are 8 billion faces of grief, 8 billion of us on the planet, and 8 different faces because each person's experience is different. I used to think that I understood grief when someone loses their parent until I had my own experience. And I felt like I never knew anything at all before. I didn't know anything about grief until I lost my own mom. You know, and grief can include emotional suffering, physical symptoms, and changes in our behavior. There's a neuroscientist who's quite popular on YouTube. Her name is Dr. Tara Swart, and she recently compared grief with psychosis. And you know, psychosis refers to a collection of symptoms that affect the mind. where there has been some loss of contact with reality. So out of touch with what is real. When we think of the sign and the symptoms of grief, some people can experience brain fog, depression, loss of motivation and direction, conflicting emotions. So someone could die as a result of illness, and you could feel sad and relief at the same time, for their suffering. You could experience regret, fear, etc. It shows up in our body. You could have an expressionless face, blank face. You can tell that when you see someone that something is wrong just by looking at their face. Physical fatigue, headaches, nausea, restlessness, heart palpitations, pains in our body, joints, muscles, tightness in the throat and the chest, reduced appetite. We're not able to complete our normal activities or even difficult ones, and we can become withdrawn from others. And remember, I said that each person experiences grief differently. So these are just some of the signs and symptoms, and it will be different for each person. When my mom passed 6 years ago, I felt that someone had stolen the sun from the sky and that I was now walking in darkness. And I couldn't think clearly at all. I couldn't. And yet I managed. I handled myself in what I consider a decent way. But for a long time, I felt that the sun was missing from the sky. And I was really, really close to my mom. Really, really close. Each of us may have experienced the loss of someone at some point. And I invite you to take a moment and think back on your personal experience of grief and write down some of the signs and symptoms that you would have experienced. So let's just take 2 minutes for this. A moment of reflection. See what signs and symptoms that you experienced. So at this point, I'd like us to consider some healthy ways for coping and healing after loss. And one of them is reframing our perspective on death. So simply the way we look at it, the way we understand it. And death can happen suddenly for anyone. It can happen to me while doing this session. It can just happen. It can just happen without any advance warning, at any place, under any circumstances, despite our age, gender, our religious and cultural beliefs. It doesn't matter how healthy the body is. Because when you think of an accident, things that happen, I mean, death can come through any ways. I think countless ways that we could die, right? Have the best of health and something knocks you down and you're dead, right? I mean, that's what I mean. And notwithstanding our social or economic status, how important our role is in the world, or how much money we have, it can happen. It can just happen, right? So it's understanding that it can happen to anyone at any time. It just is what it is. Death is the other side of birth. I like to see it as a transition, as a doorway to our next experience. And what we believe that next experience is, it varies by cultures and customs, wherever you live in the world, your religion, whatever. And we can do is also, when death happens, that we remind ourselves of these perspectives and our beliefs. If we believe that when someone dies, that they're going to go to heaven, or they're going to take rebirth, have another life, then keep that in the mind. Remind ourselves about the things that we believe so it can support us, because sometimes we could forget ourselves, right? So that's reframing the perspective of death. And when I was sharing about all the different ways, I mean, I in myself, for some years now, I've been practicing um, different ways of looking at death, right? So I have prepared myself mentally that I'm ready to die at any point. Whenever it happens, it happens. It's not really within my control. And I try to make the most of life as it is. Another way of coping is self-compassion, having compassion for myself and allowing my emotions without judgment. So to go through the experience, being kind to myself through my thoughts, my feelings, supporting myself in whatever way I need support at that moment. And for each of us, it's going to be different. Just think that the same level of love and kindness you would give to your friend or your relative who's going through loss, give that to yourself. And giving love and compassion to ourselves is not a very common act among the human beings. So it's a good time, beginning now, to develop that practice. Another way is that whenever we think of our departed one, Remember the goodness in them. Remember the beautiful times together. Remember all that you love. So focus the mind there versus wondering why and how and the why and the how um, thoughts can really lead us down a dark road. It's okay to ask once or twice, but I would say that cannot be what we do every day. Instead, remember what you love about them, all the beautiful times. And notice I say what you love about them, not what you love, because the love doesn't go anywhere, it remains. We will always love them. Another way is keeping them in your prayers and meditations, again, as part of your healing and your expression of love. So pray for them. When you're praying, pray for them. Keep them in your life for as long as you need to get you through the days ahead. Because all they've done is really change their form as we know them, they're somewhere else. And you could consider that they're not here with you physically in the way that they've always been, but they're still a part of your life experience, and you will always love them. We could develop healthy practices and routines as a part of our normal day. So prayer, meditation, physical exercise, journaling, mindfulness activities that bring us into the present. All these are ways that can support us, that we can use as strategies. Some other things we could consider would be to challenge ourselves to accept the love and support from others. Because some of us are fortunate that when we go through the period of loss, that there are others around us. Everyone doesn't have that experience. But if you do have loved ones around you wanting to be there with you, allow them if you can. If you can, allow them. And you have to know what you will allow and not allow. When I lost my mom, I received a lot of support. I received a lot of support from my friends, my family, the place I worked at that time, my meditation practice and my meditation community supported me tremendously. You know, I I really felt that the universe was holding me in its arms at that point. So see if you could accept the love. And a key thing is that regret. Regret can be one of those things that stay with us after someone has moved on. And I encourage you to live and love fully. Love fully. We have people in our lives who we love, prioritize them. And this is a way that I want to say prioritize them, spend moments with them, enjoy them, enjoy them. And when they leave, you could do your best. When my mom passed, even now, I said that maybe she could have thought that I could have been a better son, but in my heart, I was the best child I could have been. Maybe another child could have been better. Maybe my brothers were better than me. I don't know, but I know I did my best. And I felt free. I felt really, really free, and I still feel free. I have no regrets, none, when it comes to my mom. It's easy to think that we have more time that tomorrow is guaranteed, that the next 5 years, the next 10 years, children will grow up, parents will grow old, we'll have time together. That's not a reality. That's not a reality. Be present. Be fully present in your life. Look at the things that matter, the people that matter, and share your love with them and accept their love. So when we think of those who have gone already, aiming our perspective about what we did and how we were can help us with that regret. All right? That can help us. But when we think of the people that we have in life now, don't allow yourself to have regrets after they leave. That is completely up to us going forward. Completely up to us. You know, death is often a time of reflection. We can go to a funeral and listen. For that time that we're there, we can have a new perspective on life. Consider our own mortality and immortality. And then when we leave the funeral, it's all over. We're back to normal. At the funeral, we think we need to be more for ourselves, appreciate life more, appreciate our loved ones more. And then we leave and we're back to not doing it. So I encourage you to avoid having future regrets. Live now and love now. I'd like to invite you at this point for a bit of reflection. So I've shared a few approaches, and I know I've shared it quickly. See which one of them can use in looking at the loss of a loved one. So think of a loved one that has left and see how any of those can support you in the now, that we can put into practice now and receive support on our own journey in coping and healing. Many years ago, I saw a film called Cloud Atlas. And at the end of it, one of the characters said that death is but a doorway. When one door closes, another opens. And that really spoke to my heart and my spirit. Really, it did. And I keep that with me. And that forms part of my own mindset in dealing with loss. I feel really, I find it really important for me to build that mindset continuously as I go forward because I'm really, really fortunate to have a lot of loved ones in my life, a lot of them. I love so many people so deeply, and we will all leave at some point, and that really supports me because every year there will be funerals that I have to go to, right? And I encourage you to become more aware and familiar with death as to what it is and what it means. It is a part of our life experience, and you select the ways you would like to think about it and look at it as you go forward. At this point, I'd like to invite anyone to share any thoughts or your experience of our session. We're almost finished. So feel free to unmute yourself. We have time for just for one person to share briefly. Just share your thoughts about the session, what if there's
Good
anything.
good night, everyone. Brother Steve, I'm not sure if it relates to what you discussed with regards to dealing with grief, but for me, I find that when I'm going through stuff along that line, I get I get very silent. I pull like into a shell where I find myself just wanting to be alone. It may last for hours, it may last for days, sometimes even weeks, until I feel like I could come back out of that particular phase and relate to people again. And I know maybe it's to some it may be unhealthy. I don't know if it is a healthy thing or not, but that's just my way of dealing with stuff.
Thank you so much for sharing, Sister Kim. You know, for each of us, the experience will be different for each of us. Anytime we believe that we need help, we should seek help. You know, as part of my coaching practice, I support people through grief. Um, and we have access to so many different types of support. You know, it can look different for each of us, but we can allow our intuition to guide us and we can seek support as we need. So thank you for sharing, Kim, and I wish you healing. I wish you healing and love.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So there is one thought that I'd like to share with you before you go, and it's a quotation. It's a quotation by Rumi, the poet, and it goes, "Goodbyes are for those who love with their eyes. For those who love with heart and soul, there is no such thing as separation. Goodbyes are for those who love with their eyes. For those who love with heart and soul, there is no such thing as separation." So, everyone, this brings us to the end of our session. I thank you all for joining, for being attentive, and you will receive a copy of the session recording by email. if you don't receive it, please check in your junk or your spam folders. It can go there. And feel free to reach out to me if you would like, if you don't receive it at all. Okay, so I wish you all a wonderful night. Anyone going through the process of healing and coping with grief, I want you to believe in yourself and know that this is just a life experience, and have faith and hope that all will be well, and know that there is support. You're not alone on your journey. You never ever have to. So I wish everyone a wonderful night, and I look forward to seeing you all next month. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Om Shanti,
Bye,
Brother
Om Shanti,
Steve.
bye.
Bye
This
bye,
is
everyone.
this
You
is
Steve.
Gayatri. Fantastic session.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sister.
Thank you, Steve. See you next
Good night.
month.
See you next month. Bye bye.